So, welcome to LiberalViewer Sunday Live Clip Roundup. This is my show I do every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Time, where I pick out the clips mostly from the Sunday morning news talking head pundit shows, but also from some other shows or quasi-news shows. And I pick out clips that may not have enough for me to make a full, produced, edited video out of, but that I want to share with you, my viewers. And I have about a dozen clips on several different subjects I want to play for you this evening, mostly from the Sunday morning news shows this morning. I've got clips on Syria, on immigration, on some of the Obama administration scandals. There's some good clips. I think I have about a dozen clips scheduled for today. I hope you can all see and hear me. Let me check in the comment section here real quick to see if anyone's saying they can or can't see and hear me before I play the first clip. Okay, I think, let me see, go to the view all comments here. Well, I think everything is coming in loud and clear, at least according to all of the information I have here. So I want to start playing clips for you. Before I get to the clips from the Sunday morning shows this morning, there was a pretty viral video over the last few days. First, this all-male panel on the Fox Business Network talked about this recent Pew study showing that about 40% of households had a woman as the primary breadwinner. And this all-male panel talked about how this showed how the destruction of society and how families were breaking apart, and it was a terrible day for the stability of society, and it was pretty nasty. And so because I just made a video talking about the hypocrisy of Megyn Kelly, I wanted to show this other viral video, which was Megyn Kelly sort of tearing apart these other Fox News anchors, or at least from the Fox News Business Channel, talking about whether having women as the primary breadwinner is a sign of the breakdown of society. So here's first, I want to show you one of the clips of Megyn Kelly with Lou Dobbs and Eric Erickson from Red State, who's this right-wing conservative idiot. Excuse my ad hominem attack there, but I want to, since I just have uploaded this video to YouTube about Megyn Kelly being hypocritical on the issue of the application of the Espionage Act to WikiLeaks versus Fox News reporter James Rosen, I wanted to show Megyn Kelly attacking some of her Fox News colleagues for saying that working women was the death of society. And so I'll start with that clip right here.
You're getting out of bounds. You're getting out of bounds on the safer territory. Let me go back to Eric, because this is from your blog. This is according to Eric Erickson, and I quote, "The truth. Kids most likely will do best in households where they have a mom at home nurturing them while dad is out bringing home the bacon." American Psychological Association 2010 study, according to a review of 50 years of research. Children whose mothers work are no more likely to have any problems than kids whose mothers stay at home. They studied 69 studies over 59 years of research. Your fact and your science, Eric, is not supported by the American Psychological Association, the American Academy of Pediatrics, Columbia University study, University of North Carolina study. I mean, why are we supposed to take your word for it, Eric Erickson's science, instead of all of these experts?
So that's a great clip showing Megyn Kelly on the right side for once, and I want to give her credit for that. Although, in a way, I think it is also kind of a hypocrisy, because where have all this facts and science been on Fox News for the last 10 years on all these other issues? But finally, when the lack of facts and lack of science are used to attack working mothers, and Megyn Kelly happens to be a working mother, all of a sudden facts and science now matter. So even though it's nice to see Megyn Kelly tearing apart Eric Erickson and Lou Dobbs, and that you should watch the full clip, it's on YouTube, it's kind of gone viral, that was kind of nice, but I think it's also kind of hypocritical that facts and science all of a sudden matter on Fox News when they never really mattered before. But before I totally attack Megyn Kelly, there was one thing she said there, because this issue kind of hits home for me, since I am a stay-at-home dad and my wife is an OBGYN and the primary breadwinner in our family. I used to be a practicing lawyer, a public defender, and after my daughter was born, we compared our incomes, and a public defender versus an OBGYN, we decided her income was much larger than mine, and so if we wanted to have a stay-at-home parent, that made more sense for me to do that. And so as a stay-at-home parent, this whole controversy kind of hit home with me, and I was at least a little warmed my heart a little to see Megyn Kelly defending stay-at-home dads in this clip.
I do think there absolutely is something to kids having a stable home life. I'm not saying moms can't work. I'm not saying dads should be the only ones to work.
What's unstable about having a working mother and a nurturing, loving stay-at-home father?
So that was kind of nice to see Megyn Kelly talking about a nurturing, loving stay-at-home father, at least attacking the more crazy people there on the right on Fox News, or it was Fox News or Fox Business Network, where it was Lou Dobbs and Eric Erickson, and Juan Williams also said some kind of nasty things about the disintegration of society. I think they were actually sort of playing off the idea that it was single mothers and single mother households, and Lou Dobbs talked about that a lot when he was on Megyn Kelly's America Live show there. But anyway, that was what was on the... I believe that was on Friday on America Live, so that isn't actually a Sunday clip, but there was a bunch of kind of serious stuff on the Sunday shows. More, I guess that is kind of a serious issue of how society is changing, and I think the acceptance of stay-at-home dads and women as primary breadwinners is a really important part of the acceptance, the acceptance of women as equal to men in society, and where child care issues aren't considered to be, reflexively a women's issue. They should be an issue for everybody, and where it's no longer considered that men are, the breadwinners and women are the nurturers. I think when we get rid of those stereotypes, it'll mean more equality for everyone. And anyway, I wanted to show that, but I also wanted to show some of these more serious clips from this Sunday about serious issues, one of which is Syria. I saw John McCain was on Face the Nation, and he was talking about he took this secret trip to Syria over the last few days. He met with some of the rebels. I saw something, I didn't see this verified, but I think he may have met with some people who weren't so good, who were involved with some hostage taking or something, but anyway, he just came back from his secret trip to Syria, and he had a couple interesting things to say. First, one of the things he's saying is that Assad, the president of Syria, is now winning the war against the rebels, and I wanted to start showing that clip here.
Remember all this talk we've heard for the last year or two? It's inevitable that Bashar Assad will fall. Well, I think we can't make that statement today. As the Iranians, Hezbollah is now invaded, the Iranians are there, Russia is pouring weapons in, and anybody that believes that Bashar Assad is going to go to a conference in Geneva when he is prevailing on the battlefield, it's just ludicrous to assume that.
So I guess, at least according to John McCain, and he goes on to cite intelligence reports, he says Assad is actually winning now, and that is actually a big development. But the other big development that John McCain reported when he appeared on Face the Nation, to the extent you want to trust the report of John McCain, who's been for war in Syria for a long time, he also reported that it's kind of breaking out into not just a internal civil war in Syria, but more of a regional conflict. And I thought that was an important clip to play also from Face the Nation here.
It's a slaughter, and the refugee camps are full. The Jordanians cannot last under the present situation. Lebanon is more and more tilting into chaos. The Israelis are threatened. This is now has every likelihood of turning into a regional conflict rather than just one within Syria.
So that's an important point that John McCain made there. And if you don't trust John McCain because he is has a reputation as a warmonger, I guess, there was another person making that same point about Syria turning into a regional conflict, and that's Christiane Amanpour over on This Week with George Stephanopoulos. And she was also talking about what some of the only options the United States has to affect the outcome there. So I thought I would play that clip here.
You can't keep fighting the last war. And what's happened here is that now we are witnessing right now, and honestly it's not too dramatic to call the alarm right now, a regional sectarian war has broken out. Iraq,
Lebanon involved.
Lebanon, Sunni Shiite, and involved in Syria. Iraq, Sunni Shiite. American allies, Turkey and Jordan, buckling under the pressure of all these refugees. And this is spreading out. Israel involved, using its own power.
But then that gets to my question. Do we want to be in the middle? And as Bobby
it's not about being in the middle,
of a regional civil war?
It's not really about being in the middle. There are several choices. And from what my reporting has told me is that there are many people in the United States, the Obama administration, national security and defense organizations who want to see arm and train. The president doesn't want to do it, and you've articulated why. The president has vetoed, as you know already, former CIA Director Petraeus, former Defense Secretary Leon Panetta, former Secretary of State.
Year, yeah.
Yes, on precisely this thing, and people still want to do it. Arm and train. It's the only thing that you can do.
So if you don't believe John McCain about Syria possibly spilling into a regional conflict, you've got Christiane Amanpour saying the same thing. She also says arm and train is basically the only option, although John McCain also talked about a no-fly zone enforced by cratering the Syrian runways using cruise missiles and using Patriot missiles to shoot other things down. But basically, if you combine all those clips about Syria, I think what you end up with is it's bad news, and there's not a lot the United States can do about it. But the United States may be moving towards this arm and train thing, especially one of the clips I didn't play was McCain saying that we know who the good guys are. He met with this general who defected from Assad a year or so ago. I think his name is Idris, if I'm remembering that name correctly. And so it looks like the Obama administration is still vetoing more serious American involvement in Syria, but the Syrian situation is getting worse, and arm and train looks like and a no-fly zone are the two options, and I don't know, it doesn't look like any of those things are going to happen anytime soon. The next clip issue I wanted to address with clips is the immigration issue. Because of these scandals, I think, and the clicking you hear is me getting the clips ready. I have to remove and add clips while I'm talking. So because of the breakout of these scandals, a lot of the second-term agenda from the Obama administration doesn't look like it's really going to happen. It looks more like the Congress is going to get bogged down in these scandals. And one of the problems with that is that the Republicans are kind of split on immigration as it is. I think that's the only viable policy thing that's going to pass. Guns is kind of dead. The big grand bargain on entitlements looks like it's dead, and I'll get to that in a moment. I have another clip on that. But on immigration, Republicans kind of have to decide which side of the party they're going to go to. And I want to play first a clip from Chuck Schumer talking about the box that John Boehner, the Speaker of the Republican House, is in, having with this immigration issue in this clip.
Congressman Boehner is in a box. There are about 60 or 70 of his people who are against any immigration reform. But at the same time, he knows that the Republican Party will be consigned to a minority party for a generation if they're anti-immigration. So my advice to him is, let's see what happens in the Senate bill. If we can come out of the Senate with close to a majority of the Republican senators and almost every Democrat, that may change the equation in the House and the thinking in the House among mainstream Republicans, and they may want to go for our bill.
So that's Chuck Schumer's assessment of how the Republicans in the House are kind of in a box on the immigration issue. And there's kind of a similar assessment from Paul Gigot, who is a conservative commentator, was also saying that the immigration issue is kind of splitting the Republican Party between the growth side and what he called the law and order side. And you can see that in a clip from this week with George Stephanopoulos here.
John Boehner, Paul Ryan, Eric Cantor all want immigration reform. It's not clear the rank and file is going to go along.
No, I agree with that. It's still going to be an important fight. I mean, it got three votes out of committee then from the Republicans, including Orrin Hatch, which was very significant. I think it'd be very good for Republicans who favor immigration reform to get 10, 15, 20 Republican votes in the Senate. I don't think they're going to get there, but it'd be good if they could. And then that would create more momentum to get it in the House. But there's no question there's tension within the Republican Party about on immigration. There you have people, leaders, Paul Ryan, for example, Marco Rubio, who say, look, we need to do this for the economy. We need to do this to help entitlements because younger immigrants create more growth and are able to finance Social Security going down the road. You need to do this to attract the most talented people in the world. That's that growth wing of the party versus those who are more law and order oriented and want to, frankly, put more guns on the border.
So it looks like both Chuck Schumer and Paul Gigot on the left and the right recognize the split in the Republican Party, and it'll be interesting to see. It looks like the Senate is going to pass comprehensive immigration reform. It's come out of committee, and it will either pass. Harry Reid recently said that he has the 60 votes to get it through the Senate, and that may mean that he has 5 Republican votes, or it could be 10 or 15, and that's kind of what they were talking about there. But once it passes the Senate, then it has to go to the House, and then John Boehner has to decide if he's going to follow this, what's called the Hastert Rule, which is whether the Hastert Rule says that it not only has to get a majority in the House, it has to get a majority of the majority. So saying that Republicans won't bring it to a vote because since they have the majority in the House, they control what comes to vote and what doesn't. And so they have to decide, will they bring the immigration bill to the floor, even if it will pass with mostly Democratic votes and just a few Republicans, but not a majority of Republicans. And so that'll be sometime in the future. That decision will be made by the Republican Party, and that will pretty much determine whether comprehensive immigration reform is a bill passed by Congress or an issue for the 2014 campaign. So anyway, I thought that was an interesting issue that was discussed on the Sunday morning shows. Also, since I just made this video about the hypocrisy on Fox News, their outrage about the use of the Espionage Act to target James Rosen when they were all for the use of the Espionage Act to target WikiLeaks and Julian Assange back in 2010, just a few months after the search warrant for James Rosen's emails and phone records. And I recommend everyone watch that video. And I won't go into all the issues there, but of course the Rosen scandal was one of the issues that showed up on the Sunday morning programs, and I don't want to go into it too much, but one issue that I didn't really bring up in my video because I wanted to make it more of a shorter video, but I thought was really an important point to remember about this scandal about the Obama administration getting emails and phone records of journalists is that now the media is making a big deal out of that when it's the journalists who have been targeted. But since the Bush administration, the NSA has targeted emails of Americans going internationally in this wide dragnet. I've mentioned this in previous produced videos I've made, that the warrantless wiretapping program started under the Bush administration. They can decide to take like all the emails or phone calls between Americans and the country of Mexico or Israel or India or any, it can be that wide of a dragnet. So the fact that journalists are getting all upset about this snooping on a few reporters when these international phone calls and emails from thousands, if not millions of Americans have been caught up in this warrantless wiretapping dragnet for years is kind of a hypocrisy. And I wanted to show Arianna Huffington over on This Week with George Stephanopoulos making that point in this clip.
And we keep forgetting the NSA surveillance that was not just about the press, but about the entire public, and that you had actually people going to Ashcroft's bedside in hospital to try and get it certified as being legal.
That was surveying terrorists overseas, not domestic.
Terrorists? How do you know they were terrorists? That's the whole point, that we are really ignoring that this has been pervasive and happening in the Bush years and continuing in the Obama years. And this is really the major problem with Obama.
And God bless President Obama for doing it.
He has continued a lot of the same policies.
I said, God bless President Obama for doing it.
So you know that President Obama must be doing something bad when Karl Rove is saying God bless President Obama for doing it. And what they're talking about is that he's finished a lot or continued a lot of the Obama surveillance programs. But that's not a big surprise. I made a video. Maybe I'll try to put a link annotation here when this is a recorded video for people watching later. It's called ACLU opposes warrantless wiretapping supported by Obama, McCain, and Bush. That's not the exact title, but something like that. And it talks, and this was back when Barack Obama was running as a candidate for president in 2008. He voted for the bill that gave amnesty to the phone companies that allowed this warrantless wiretapping. So it wasn't a big surprise that Obama supported the warrantless wiretapping also after he got elected. But anyway, that was an important point from Arianna Huffington. The other important point I thought about this Rosen scandal was that, I said in my most recent video that I thought that the search warrant of James Rosen's phone records and his emails probably went too far because it used the Espionage Act on a journalist to look at, what he was doing his job, cultivating sources, but he did get classified information, and Thomas Friedman made an important point about whether what he published was really that newsworthy compared to the harm that it did. And for those that don't know, it was on the North Korean policy. He got classified information about American policy on North Korea and how there was the American policymakers had access to an insider in the North Korean government. Anyway, so here's that quote from Thomas Friedman in this clip.
Because there was, I think, overreach, maybe a little bit on both sides to some degree. Red lines were crossed. Clearly red lines were crossed at the Department of Justice, in effect criminalizing reporting. At the same time, you look at that Fox report about North Korea, and other people I respect a lot, Walter Pincus and Jack Schaefer, have made this point, and you do have to scratch your head about what was the news in there that justified leaking the fact that we had a source in the Korean leadership. So to me, clearly the DOJ went too far, and you saw the president, I think, reflecting that. But I do think, I share David's view, we got to talk about this, because not everything that's secret is news. What should be news is malfeasance, misbehavior, lying, but not the fact that we have a source in the North Korean leadership.
I think that's an important point. I do believe that the Department of Justice overreached, and I also supported the First Amendment rights of WikiLeaks back in 2010. And the most important part about that is what it's really meant to protect is the accountability, the ability of media organizations to show malfeasance and incompetence and wrongdoing in government, not just to report things that are secret for the purpose of, getting a scoop about some policy. So I thought that was an important point. Now, the next topic I want to cover has to do with the scandals more generally, not just the Rosen scandal. And sorry about the clicking again, but I have to add in a couple more clips here. One thing that I'm kind of worried about is whether the scandals are going to stop the ability to get any kind of policy done. I kind of talked about that a little bit earlier, and I thought that Gwen Ifill over on This Week with George Stephanopoulos made an important point about that I will show you in this clip.
You just identified the problem, which is, can Washington chew gum and walk at the same time? There are huge policy agenda items which the president would like to focus on, but scandals, disagreement within his own party, attacks from Republicans, whatever you want to call it, all means that these things cannot necessarily happen. If Eric Cantor can boast, as he did last week, that he held more than 100 oversight hearings in the House in May, just in May, that's what the House is focused on. Are they focused on finding a middle ground on things like immigration reform?
But they are doing that at the same time.
And I think that is basically an important question for the next couple of years of the Obama administration, whether the legislative branch is going to get bogged down in these scandals, which I don't think have a lot to them, or are they going to be able to actually get some legislative work done? And which way that's going to go is kind of up in the air, I think. And one other thing, I don't want to get too much into all the scandals, but there was one interesting point about the IRS scandal that David Plouffe, who's a former advisor to President Obama, made. There's this IRS scandal about the political targeting of Tea Party groups for when they applied for their tax-exempt status, and I think there was some wrongdoing there. These groups had to go through this arduous process to get their tax-exempt status, and it looks like the way that they selected people for that was definitely had a disproportionate impact on conservative groups. So there's definitely stuff there to investigate. But on the other hand, if it was an attempt to silence people on the right in the 2012 election, it didn't really work, because the biggest groups that were getting that were hiding behind the tax-exempt status, like Karl Rove's Crossroads group, they had no problems getting their status and spending all their money. And I think there was an important point made. David Plouffe and Karl Rove were both on This Week with George Stephanopoulos, and David Plouffe made that point in this clip.
And I want to mention, Crossroads, the Koch brothers, Adelsons, they drowned us in money in the last election. So the notion that somehow this was a premeditated scheme to silence people could not be further from the truth. There was some IRS employees who did a dumb thing here in terms of managing a remarkable influx of applications on the right and the left. They should have looked at everybody equally. They shouldn't have singled out anybody.
So I think that's an important point for the people who say that the Obama administration had this plan to target conservative groups so that they couldn't use their tax-exempt status in the elections, that, well, conservative groups did get to spend a lot of money, and the biggest organizations had no problem. So you would expect if the Obama administration had some big top-down conspiracy to do this, they would have targeted the presumably most effective organizations like Karl Rove's Crossroads, which they didn't do. So those are kind of like the current events clips that I had from the Sunday morning shows. There was one other clip I wanted to show, which was on sort of a more long-term issue. Thomas Friedman, who was kind of on the left, though, I mean, some people argue about that, but he spent he wrote this book about the flattening of the earth, where, I think it was called The Flat Earth or something like that, where it was about how American workers are increasingly going to have to compete with workers all over the world because they no longer have the advantages that they used to, and businesses can go anywhere and get workers so they're looking for the cheapest, most productive workers anywhere in the world. And I thought, outside of all these like current event scandal clips, I would play this one interesting clip from Thomas Friedman on that issue here.
The thing that sustained the American middle class for 50 years was something called a high-wage, middle-skill job. There is no such thing anymore as a high-wage, middle-skill job. There's only going to be a high-wage, high-skill job. So every decent middle-class job today is actually being pulled in 3 directions at once. It's being pulled higher. It takes more skill to have. It's being pulled out. More software, robots, automation, and people around the world can compete for it. And it's being pulled down. It's being outsourced to history, to the past, being made obsolete faster.
So that's an important kind of thing to think about, outside of all the like breaking scandals and the current events in the news cycle. That's kind of a more long-term trend that affects workers and affects everybody. That's why it's. I think that's one of the reasons that the United States has been going through this jobless recovery, and also in Europe and I'm always a little worried when I start talking about other countries, but I believe workers in Europe are also having problems competing for a lot of those same reasons that Thomas Friedman's talking about there. So that's the dozen clips for the LiberalViewer Sunday live clip roundup. And what I like to do after I give all my commentary is to check to see what comments I have. Did something happen here with did something start? I see. Why did it start over? Oh, I don't still have a clip still playing here, do I? Sorry. If someone asked why did my clip start over, I don't know, I'm just starting to look at the top clips. So let me just go here to the bottom, see if I can find some good on-topic questions here to get a little live discussion going. And by on-topic, I mean on the topic of the clips that I showed. Let's see. Oh God, that video was amazing. That was probably the Megyn Kelly video, I guess. A couple people talking about my ad hominem attack. Is it an ad hominem if it's true? I called somebody an idiot, didn't I? Ad hominem is using a personal as your reason for your argument. Yeah, I knew when I said it. I knew people would say that. But yeah, Eric Erickson. I actually recently made a video about Eric Erickson, but I can't remember which one it is. But Charbroiled 04 talking about the Megyn Kelly clip says she just validated the use of Pew studies as supporting arguments. Save that mental note for later when she's arguing against a specific Pew study whose conclusion she doesn't like. Well, that's a good point. Although I actually made a video arguing against a Pew study that showed that Fox News bias wasn't as bad as MSNBC, but that was based on, I think, people who misinterpreted the results of that study. Amstang 864 asks, LV, do you think that Michelle Bachmann is splitting because of possible ethics probes? Well, I think Michelle Bachmann is splitting for a variety of reasons. The ethics probes, plus she's not doing well in her district. I think she won by like a point, even though Mitt Romney won her district by like 14 or more. I can't remember the exact numbers, but by a lot more than she won her district. She hasn't done a lot in Congress, and also I've heard a lot of people say this, and I think it's true, that she, like Sarah Palin, has gotten a lot of attention for rabble-rousing and, being provocative, and she can do that without being in Congress. I wouldn't be surprised to see her showing up on Fox News or one of the other networks as sort of a right-wing commentator to draw controversy. And I don't know. I think fact checkers of the world are relaxing with her being gone. I have a great video of Michelle Bachmann about from the debates, the Republican debates, presidential debates for the 2012 primary, where she said the ACLU runs the CIA in the Obama administration, and how silly that was. Let's see. War Powers Act, NO 8549 and Charbroiled 04 both asked about the War Powers Act, which I assume had to do with Syria. The War Powers Act never seems to be invoked, although the constitutionality of the War Powers Act has never really been tested, and I'm not even sure the Supreme Court would get into that. No president, both Republicans and Democrats, going back to the passage of the War Powers Act, no presidential administration has ever accepted the War Powers Act as constitutional. So that's kind of an up-in-the-air question, and I'm not personally sure whether it is or not. Let's see. Libre Vision Network says, unfortunately, apparently it was very ignored, but what is your viewpoint of what is going on in Turkey? And on the plus side, I'm glad the immigration issue can't be ignored by the mainstream. Well, I kind of touched on, I'm not sure exactly what the Turkey question is. I touched on the effect of Syria on Turkey, but I may be one of those people who has to ignore what's going on in Turkey because I haven't seen coverage of a specific Turkey issue, and I feel bad about that. Only one person thought something started over. So I'm glad the show looks good tonight. I'm kind of over my 30 minutes, and I think I played some good clips for everyone. I hope you... you got time to answer my question. It's not on topic, but it deals with one of your videos. Shoot, that's that one all the way down at the bottom. Do you feel victims of bullying who defend themselves should receive suspension? I got bullied for being gay, and one day after getting tripped and kicked in the hallway, I stood up for myself and broke the bully's nose. I got 2 days, and he got 1. I do believe self-defense should be taken into account for school suspensions, and I don't think that victims should be suspended, although I'm not an expert on school discipline rules, but I think that there's supposedly in some places there are rules where self-defense you're actually supposed to go tell authorities and not defend yourself, and that may be silly, but I think that may be the way they process some of those issues. I'm not sure about that, but you asked my personal opinion. I do think self-defense for victims of bullying should be exculpatory in suspension hearings. So there, I handled your question, but I'm kind of over, and I need to finish up now, and I'm glad I had so many people joining me for Liberal Viewer Sunday Live, and I hope you enjoyed my dozen clips. I put a lot of work into finding those and processing them and getting them all ready at the last minute, so I hope you enjoy the last few hours of your weekend. And check out, I've made 2 processed, edited videos in the last 4 days, so check those out, please, and support those. I put a lot of effort into those too, and I'll see you Liberal Viewer Wednesday Live this Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. Pacific, where I'll just take questions and answers, so you won't have to worry about your question being off topic and me not answering it then. And have a good rest of your weekend.